All right, today's video is a hydraulic assist steering upgrade from Jeep TJ. What I have in front of me today is a West Texas off-road Redneck Ram hydro assist steering kit for Jeep TJ. I have the one that you go in, you add your cart, you tell them what you have. So this is for a Jeep TJ that has less than a 6-inch lift kit, with running less than 38-inch tall tires. I picked a 7-inch steering ram. That's what this is. I picked the 7-inch steering ram because of the PSC kit uses a 6 3/4-inch steering ram, and they don't do fractions of an inch on their steering rams. They just do straight inches. But what you get in your kit is you get your ram, you get a ported steering box, which is what that is down there. You get tabs to weld on to your axle, you get tabs to weld on to your steering linkages. They give you this hardware. They give you these hydraulic fittings. These little hydraulic 90s. And then they give you pre-made hoses for, less than a 6-inch lift. What they don't give you is they don't give you a steering cooler, and they don't give you a pump. So you reuse your pump. You source your own power steering cooler. That's how you're saving money, is by not having by sourcing your own power steering cooler and reusing your own pump. So that's how you're saving your own money. You don't get a box cutter. That's my box cutter. I'm not going to use their weld-on tabs, and I'm not using the hardware they gave me. I have a clamp on my axle. That's what this bolt is for here. It's grade 8. So I'm going to use my clamp. So I'm going to use these misalignment spacers to step down these tines, the 1/2-inch bolt, so I can use the hardware for a 1/2-inch. And then I'm going to use, I have aftermarket axle, so my mount on the axle is a lot beefier than what would be on a factory axle. It's a 1/4-inch plate, just like this is, so it's already thick. So I don't need to have that. So I'm going to the factory location. So I'm going to use so this is already a 1/2-inch. The factory hardware is already 1/2-inch, so this misalignment spacer is going to be 1/2-inch, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. It's easy peasy stuff. This hose here that you saw, I installed a aftermarket steering cooler for the return side to my pump from my box, in front of my air conditioning condenser. So that's the hose to plumb that. So when I pull the box, I'll put a bypass. I'll cut the bypass and plumb that. So I'll have an aftermarket steering cooler. So everything will be new except for my power steering pump, and then I'll be using the original lines, with the exception of the return line will have a bypass in it for the cooler. Yes, and then also they offer in this box, you'll see they have a thing where you can return your power steering pump to get a $200 core charge back. That's what this is. I have a power steering box sitting on my garage floor. This is the original power steering box from my Jeep. I had replaced it once before. I just pulled this pitman arm off of it. I had 2 pitman arms set in the past. I'm a pack rat. So I'll go ahead and swap out the system, and I'll take this original box and throw it in the this original steering gear and throw it in the box and return it to them for a core charge and get some bucks back. And I'll use that pitman arm on this new box, and then I'll end up with a spare non-steering assist box just floating around in the garage just in case. But that's a project for today. I don't know how far I'll be able to get. Hopefully I'll have everything installed. Whether or not I'll have everything bled, I don't know. But hopefully I'll have everything installed, and then maybe tomorrow I'll have everything bled. But yeah, that's the project today. Like I said, this is what you get in the box when you buy it. I think this was under $1,500 to my door. The biggest difference between this and PSC, like I said, you're not getting a cooler, you're not getting a pump. You are getting hoses in the steering box and bolts and hardware and the tabs. But you're also not getting fluid. You have to source your own fluid, which is fine. But it is more economical. I think that PSC kit's now like $3,000, and this is under $1,500. And by the time I return the power steering box for a core, I'll have even more money back. They have instructions on how to do that in the box. So yeah, enough talking. I'm gonna go ahead and get to work on trying to get all the old stuff out. Already have the power steering stabilizer out, so now I gotta get the rest of the stuff out. All right, whew. That's my reman box out of the Jeep. So that's the original. That's one I had replaced it with years ago. Whew, man, it's a little bit of work, especially with my Jeep. Depending on the Jeep you're working on, there might be more work than you would think. This Jeep has quite a bit that has to come out of the way, so the sway bar has to move so you get to all the bolts, right? So there's 3 steering bolts to hold it on for this year truck or Jeep. Plus you gotta pop the drag link off, right? So there's my drag link dangling there. You got your steering hoses dangling there, popped off. It's a good time to check your O-rings on your steering hose, by the way. I have one other thing that I had on mine, and that's a steering brace that goes from the steering frame to the steering box. Clamps right above the pitman arm. Acts as a secondary brace to reinforce the steering box and the frame. And I'll put that back on. Show you guys that when I get it back on. But that's it. So that's off. And as you can see right there on my drag link, that's the steering clamp I'm talking about using instead of the weld-on tabs. And as you can see, I have one of these G2 axles, and you can see my I need to paint that, but there's my steering stabilizer mount, significantly thicker than the factory one. So I'm going to be bolting my ram to that. It should be perfectly fine. But anyways, this is where I'm at right now. All the old crap off. Time to put the new crap on. And I don't know if you can see it. It might be too dark. You can kind of see it. That's my auxiliary steering cooler in there. Back, that little black little mini radiator, if you will. And focus. There we go. See the tubes. It'll be splicing the lines to route it up behind, plumbing it in right there. So, yeah. Going all right. I'm gonna start putting some stuff on. All right, here's an update. I'm stopping for the day. So I got my steering box in, steering line plumbed, steering cooler plumbed. So the steering box is in, I just need to torque down the box. My drag link is back in. Working on a tight confined space like that with that steering box is kind of a pain in the butt, but I got it in there. Starting to lose daylight, so, and since I'm working in the street, I don't want to get hit by my neighbors. So it's a good stopping point. What I have left is I have to put that ram in and plumb the lines, and then obviously hook everything back up, torque everything, and then bleed the system. But yeah, the steering box is in. Yeah, the Redneck ram box is in. Caps are still on, so yeah. Just need to torque everything and put that ram back in place. Or put that ram in place. But oh yeah, put my skid plate back on. But I'm tired. It's like 4 o'clock. Sun's going down, so time to call it quits. Get back to it tomorrow after I take the kid out for a driving lesson. Alrighty. Okay, the hydro assist steering project I've been working on with Redneck Ram. I already have the steering box in place, and I have everything put back together again. I decided to kind of a impromptu showing you how I'm going to do this misalignment spacers and why I'm not doing the welded clamps. Let's see here. The best way to film this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to show you how I'm putting this ram on. Bear with me, I'm not the best videographer. I'm going to move this probably slightly over, see if I can get this filmed correctly. So I'll get these misalignment spacers out. So I have this clamp. Here's this clamp. This clamp has a threaded hole in it already, right? And this threaded hole takes this bolt here, okay? And this is the Heim joint that's going to go onto that threaded hole. Okay. Now, the problem with the Heim joint is back up a little bit, is larger than the bolt, right? See, this is I think a 5/8 opening, and when you put the Heim joint on to the steering, you can see you don't have a lot of gap space, right? It's kind of flush. It's kind of really close to the steering link. So what a misalignment spacer is it gives you the ability to step down your hole, right? So the way they go in is they kind of just slide into your opening, like so, and allow you to use a smaller bolt in your Heim joint, which also allows you to have misalignment as I thread this in. It gives you a little bit of a misalignment right there on your steering ram. I'll have to put some washers in to fill up that gap a little bit, but you kind of get the idea. So Now, right? So now when it's on, it's no longer super flush, right? You get a little bit of a gap right here. I'll have to put some washers in to kind of space up right here. But yeah, and then I can do this. Now I could do the same thing. Try not to lose my ram. Nothing's tight. I'm kind of loose fitting it. Hold on. There we go. I guess balance it a little bit. And then the same thing could be done over here on this fitting here. The same process. I had the same kind of a problem with the original bolt that goes in, that went into that opening. It was also too small, and then that was also too wide for the Heim. So this misalignment spacer will, one, step down that opening and allow me to use this smaller half-inch bolt. These are both half-inch bolts, so it steps down 5/8 to half-inch. So I can use half-inch hardware, and then also allow me to fill in this opening here with the Heim joint because it's too narrow. And I already had this clamp. This is part of the what was this? This is a Synergy link. This is a Synergy clamp, and I wanted to use this clamp. I've seen plenty of people use this clamp, so I wanted to use this clamp. So yeah, that's how I'm gonna do this. My steering box is already in. Steering links is already back on. So I gotta do this. This is how I'm doing the steering ram itself. And you're not supposed to have this tilted more than 15 degrees. So this being tilted like that should be good. I'll do I'll measure that out when I'm done. But yeah, that is how I'm doing that. So there. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Oops, sorry about that. Sorry to hit the camera. No, I just got to do that. It's kind of hard to work around the camera. So I'll go ahead and get this buttoned up, get my gap dealt with over here, and that way everybody can get an idea of what it looks like. All right, so I'm pretty much done with this. As you can see, the steering hoses are hooked up, steering lines are ran, kind of over the drag bar, the drag link. My biggest negative on this is the steering hoses are a little bit too long. One of the things I forgot to mention is you want to make sure you have this on jack stands when you do the bleeding process. One of the things they point out. Just follow the instructions on bleeding steering. Pretty straightforward. The only difference with mine is I have a steering cooler back there. That's the most tedious part of this, is the steering, bleeding the steering fluid. It takes a while to get all the air out of the system. Pretty straightforward. It's not that difficult. Now this is the factory pump. Factory pump, right? There's their steering box right there. Brand new steering box. Their steering ram. Notice when I started doing the bleeding didn't quite work the way their instructions said until I fired up the engine the first time. It was like a literally air pocket that wasn't letting it happen. So when I fired up the engine, it pushed past that air pocket, and then it let it go. So you might have to deal with that. You might have to deal with that. Yeah, most everything I use is out of this steering kit. This is one of those Harbor Freight 301 piece kits. Some stuff out of my garage. 80% of everything I use is out of this kit. Pretty straightforward. 1420 I think is what this kit costs. Pretty good price comparatively. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The only thing I saw in the instructions is that it might be a little bit slow compared to other steering rams because of the pump. He does have instructions on how to boost your pump, your steering pump, on his website, but I have a PSC pump that I can put on this in the future. That's it for this. That's it for the steering ram. There's other people that have done steering rams, but I hadn't seen it. Pretty nice kit.